Fleetwood Mac and Everywhere on BBC Radio London. Right, it is time this afternoon, as we do every couple of weeks, once a month, we have Ready Tech Go. And basically, I'm joined live in the studio with friend of the show. He is our resident social media and technology expert, James Erskine. We discuss the stories that affect you, or as James likes to say, every story is a social media story. Now, if you'd like more details for him, he is the founder of Rocket, and the website is wearerocket.co.uk. You can find him, by the way, of course, on social media. It's James Erskine, Erskine. Great to have you back on Radio London, James.
Thanks for having me.
I have to say, it feels very timely because you were booked in. We didn't know, and none of us ever do, when things like this happen. But can we just kick off by talking about the reports that we're having this afternoon? Of course, at the moment, it's still happening. So we are giving up-to-date news around this. But there's been a cyber attack, hasn't there, which is affecting flights currently at the moment.
And it's the second day of it.
Yes.
And it's affecting Heathrow, which is really quite important for Londoners. It's affected a few airports throughout Europe.
Yes, that's right.
And it's kicked off yesterday. Interestingly, still nobody has claimed responsibility.
Okay.
So nobody has specifically said we are responsible for the cyber attack. What was really fascinating to me, and it kind of, parts of it until I thought about how irresponsible it was, appealed to my sense of anarchy, but the TfL cyber attack that cost them in excess of £39 million was organised and orchestrated by two teenagers. So it just shows, isn't it incredible that the desire to cause trouble and cause harm to big corporations, this could be kids playing about. This could be a politically motivated protest against air travel. We just do not know what is behind it. One thing we do know is we are firmly in an age of cyber attacks. I was actually at the airport over the summer and the air traffic control system went down. And my family, my son and daughter, turned to me and said, what does this mean? I didn't have the heart to say to them the last time the air traffic control system went down, it went down for 72 hours.
Gosh.
Luckily, it was down for about an hour and we were okay and we flew and it was all right. But we're very much in an age where deliberate cyber attacks are a thing for big companies. We've seen it at M&S.
Yes.
And it affected them hugely.
The NHS as well, of course.
Completely. And it's funny, as a business owner, you get approached by the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office. You get approached by people saying, is your cyber security good enough? I just wonder whether we really know what your cyber security being good enough really means.
That's a good point, because there's a business side, there's going to be people, just, you know, the average Joe who may not even really be acquainted with this.
Completely. A woman that works in our finance department once received an email from my email address saying, could you quickly transfer a sum of money to this bank account?
Okay.
And I never sent it. And it was only because she was in the office that day and she said, I haven't made that payment yet. And I said, what payment? So that's a real world scenario of how clever hackers are getting, how clever cybersecurity is. I've told you before, Shay, I think I'm relatively tuned in and clued up. I've fallen victim to a scam relatively recently.
Yes.
So yeah, it can happen to all of us. We have to be vigilant and we have to be literate. And then on a big company level, we have to be aware that this sort of stuff is going to happen.
Absolutely. And sometimes, unfortunately, when it does happen, it can be too late. It's about trying to have safeguards in place before something like this happens. Let's go to the next story that you wanted to talk about today. TikTok.
Well,
it's back in the news.
It is back in the news. And I must confess, we're not normally breaking news, but here we are, second news story of the day.
Yeah.
Donald Trump yesterday intimated that there might be a deal on the table to make TikTok remain in the hands of American users. So a bit of context, first of all. There was a law brought in the US in 2024, before Trump became president, that said that because TikTok, its parent company ByteDance, was Chinese owned, they were reluctant to allow the app to have that much data about US citizens.
Yep.
Trump kind of fell in love with TikTok, let's be honest. He thought it won him a large amount of the youth vote in America.
Yeah.
So he rolled it over. And then he rolled it over again. It looks like they're about to sign something that will roll it over for another 120 days, taking it through to the end of this year.
Okay.
But they also look like they have done a deal. ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, will get one seat on a board of 7 for a new company that will own and run TikTok in the United States of America. Mm-hmm. The users of TikTok in the United States of America won't notice any different. They won't have to re-download.
Okay, so that it was still TikTok as an application on the phone will be the same.
It won't change.
Okay.
The other thing that everybody getting slightly more technical will ask is, what about the algorithm? Because the algorithm is the secret sauce that makes TikTok work and is both why it's brilliant and annoying because it knows you so well.
Yes.
So addictive. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to license the algorithm to this new company without telling anybody in the new company what that algorithm looks like. So the algorithm won't get known by the new company, but they will be able to run the algorithm within for US users.
What's the context for us in the UK regarding TikTok?
Very limited. But what could have happened if TikTok was going to go away from US users, the US users would have looked to find a replacement. It's huge in the States. It's a population. What that could have meant happening was a new app could have taken over in the States and then we in the UK could have followed.
Right.
So it could be a Threads. It could be a new video app. It could be something else to take over. As it is, it looks like there isn't going to be that gap in the market. I mean, remember 6-7 years ago, we were talking about TikTok when it was Musical.ly. We never thought it would then go on to be as big as it is now. So there could still be space for a new up and coming app, but it won't be caused by this shift in US behavioural change.
Now, you kind of mentioned Donald Trump at the beginning of this conversation. Of course, he was on everyone's lips in terms of a talking point, whether they supported him or not last week when he was here in the UK.
Yes.
He didn't come to London specifically, but of course was at Windsor. Give us context of the next story you wanted to discuss around Donald Trump, really weighing in, if you will, on free speech, but then also using Charlie Kirk's death to silence it. Some are saying, at least, in the US.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because this free speech turn of phrase has been weaponised, I would argue, on both sides of the political spectrum.
Okay.
So what has happened through a number of stories? We had the Graham Linehan story over here in the UK where he was arrested, not charged, for a tweet that he sent. In the US, you have seen Charlie Kirk and the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death and horrific death for which, the killer must be condemned. What Trump has done is he seems to be taking on this free speech battle. He seems to be saying, in America, there has been, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has been quoted as saying, you can't have hate speech. Now, you don't have to read much of the Constitution in America.
Sure.
Because the first one talks about free speech and how it overrules hate speech. So it's a tough one for them to start saying that anybody reacting on social media to Charlie Kirk's death in an inappropriate way, and let's, not pull any punches, people celebrating anybody's death shouldn't be allowed, shouldn't be tolerated, but they do have the right to do that.
Okay.
And what's also interesting, and one of the things I really want to challenge people listening to think about is, what do your social media posts mean for you?
Okay.
What do they mean for your employer? Because right now, one of the things that Charlie Kirk did, so-called free speech warrior, he actually set up something called Professor Watch, which allowed people to upload ideologies of different professors and teachers with a view to them getting banned or them not being able to teach if they were going against his thoughts. And then you'd get people getting in touch with people's employers in America for how they have reacted to Charlie Kirk's death. So it strikes me as though for people saying that they are bastions of free speech, there's quite a lot of people limiting and prohibiting free speech. For what it's worth, I think there needs to be two different things that happen from here. One, I think we need to understand that free speech does mean free speech, but it means free speech with consequences. You can say anything you want. The second thing is this incitement law that you have in the UK, where you can't incite violence, whether that violence be burn someone's house down or punch someone in the balls, forgive the language, it's a quote from the Graham Linehan tweet. I think you need to have an understanding that when, in the same way I couldn't say in the street, commit a crime, do something wrong, I think we actually need to know what we can and can't say on social media.
And that's in the context of freedom of speech then, because when we talk about this, obviously, if you hear from various social media firms, whether it's TikTok or Meta, you know, which encapsulates obviously Facebook and Instagram, they will say, well, they have their guidelines.
Yes.
But from what you're saying, what I understand at least, is really how far does those guidelines go for users, but then also those that want to perhaps report when this is, you know, when it's inciting hatred or violence.
And I think I know which laws I can flirt with breaking.
I
think I know that if I'm going 72 miles an hour on a motorway, that's broadly in the scope. I think I know that certainly in the UK, when I cross the road and it's the red man, not the green man, I think you can get away if there isn't much traffic. What do we really know about the laws of what you're allowed to say on social media? I would argue very little. And I think that's a real problem. I think there needs to be an education piece. Now, one thing I would say is from the 1st of October, the UK Online Safety Act comes into play.
Very important.
Really important. And that goes some of the way to prohibiting some of the drugs, some of the suicide content, some of the paedophilia content on social platforms, both on the dark web and on social networks. It's already done an incredible job on pornography sites in the UK. Ironically, you've seen purchases rise through the roof for those requesting a VPN to get round those rules. But anyway, we're going in the right place. I said, Shay, at the start of this year that regulation would be a big factor in how we use social media. I didn't expect free speech to become a big thing, but I think it's become another overriding theme of all things digital and social media this year.
So let's delve to the next story that you wanted to talk about as well. And this one is also very important. We've had various conversations around AI, the ways in which it's being used. And there's been an array of stories, hasn't there, just around experts warning over the rising use of AI regarding mental health support.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. My mum used to have a big book. And what you could do is you could go to that big book and you could look up symptoms. Runny nose, go to page 32. Achy legs, go to page... And it was like an adventure book for diagnosing what was wrong with your children.
Sure.
Well, now that book is not widely circulated. Everybody is using AI to diagnose their own health problems.
Self-diagnosis.
Exactly. But lots of people are actually using AI for mental health support. So literally, I actually think that I don't use AI like this, but I know plenty of people that have their AI, their ChatGPT, their Oracle, whichever one they use, talk to them, and they sound incredibly human. And so literally, hello, and they can give it a name. And that human quality means that AI actually deliberately becomes more human, and people are oversharing with their AI. They are saying, I am struggling with my mental health. What can you advise? And the other thing that I think is really interesting is, and maybe this is too much of a gender stereotype here, Shay, but
Okay.
my thoughts are men are solutions driven, women are more understanding and listening driven.
Okay.
And
More
AI,
empathetic, maybe.
more empathetic,
Yeah.
completely. Now, I think AI is almost too solutions driven. It literally is looking for an answer to a problem. That's why people use it.
As opposed to listening or having compassion, just the general human interaction that is
Completely.
required by two individuals.
Completely. And I think that's a big, almost pushback, a reaction that we're seeing across all digital and social media is the need for human connection and genuine connections. But if we come on to talk about it, that's great. If we don't worry. But one of the things I was going to make a point about the music industry
Yes,
is
we can go to it.
there's now a huge reliance on live events. In the real world, we need to start valuing human connection, human emotion, listening to people. Because, look, I'll be really honest, and hopefully my daughter won't be listening. She should be at school.
Yeah.
I was asked to write a letter to school because my daughter's going on a school trip and they want a emotional letter for them to open on the second morning in case they're
lovely.
missing their parents.
Okay, that's
So
lovely.
I did a draft.
Right.
I also put it into AI.
Of course you did.
Now, just to see whether they would make it funnier, whether they would make it better.
Right.
So that should surely be the most emotionally raw moments
Yeah.
of every job I have to do this week.
Yeah.
But even I'm running that by AI.
By AI. I mean, it's so interesting because London's had quite the summer, okay?
Yes.
Whether we were to look at Coldplay,
Yeah.
Oasis, Arijit Singh, all performing in London to
Yeah.
sold out audiences, there is a real, I guess, craving, if you will, to have human interaction, to have live musical events.
Communal experiences.
And you're right, it's the communal experience. You don't necessarily get that with AI.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't. And I think that's a problem. And I think we need to enjoy real conversations.
The other part of this story that you wanted to mention around music was what has Spotify done to the music industry? Give us more on this
Well,
context.
forgive me promoting another audio thing. It's
okay.
it's a bit of a comment that Richard Osman made
Yep.
on the Rest is Entertainment podcast, and I found it fascinating. And he said, how many plays do you think a band have to get on Spotify every month to make the minimum wage?
I don't know.
The answer is 500,000 plays a month. So isn't that
Wow.
unbelievable? So
That's mind-boggling.
right, isn't it? And there was a piece in The Guardian recently about Spotify and some indie bands leaving Spotify. We've seen established acts leave Spotify as well. Neil Young left Spotify in protest of Joe Rogan's content being up there around COVID vaccinations.
Okay.
Incidentally, it's interesting, Neil Young has come back. I was researching it earlier when I looked into this. So it's worth noting, and Spotify isn't on its own. There's Deezer, there's Apple Music, there's Amazon Music, there's other streaming platforms. But streaming has completely changed the music industry and completely changed the way the music industry works. Before, what you would do is go on a live tour to promote the physical record.
Yeah.
Now, if anything, the record is just to promote the live experience. And bands are making money, artists are making money only around the live and the merchandise and their performance.
It's a conversation we've been having for decades just around the way in which we consume music. That's what you're talking about as a general
Completely.
public. We've only got time for the final one, and I did want to talk to you about this. The whole way in which technology is affecting our beauty trends. What's going on here?
Well, this was an amazing story. Effectively, and this is hopefully a beauty trend that everyone can embrace, because apparently there is a trend that's been popularised on TikTok and across social media, and it's around looking tired.
Oh, I could do that all
I
day,
can do
every
that
day.
straight away. Apparently, bags under your eyes are a good thing.
Okay.
A number of different beauty and makeup influencers have talked about how looking tired, not goth girl, you can tell I'm reading, this
Yeah,
isn't my area
yeah.
of expertise, but not goth girl, but a different trend. The tired girl trend has become its own TikTok category,
Wow.
with makeup tutorials amassing over 300,000 views. Stars such as Lily Rose Depp, and Emma Chamberlain adopting that style. Influencer Lara Violetta proved she was a fan of the look and claimed, eye bags are so chic because you actually have to work for them.
I mean, this is winning. I mean, I've got my dark circles that I've inherited just because of my skin tone. So, I mean, that's just perfect for me. Really enjoyable, I have to say, Ready, Tech, Go today. And a lot of food for thought there always is, James. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Absolutely look forward to it. If you'd like more details for James, go to his social media. It's James Askin.
I'm in the phone booth.